August 6, 1945. In the dim glow of a summer evening at Farm Hall, a secluded manor house nestled in the English countryside near Godmanchester, 10 German scientists sat in tense anticipation around a wooden table. The air carried the faint scent of polished oak and distant hayfields, interrupted only by the soft crackle of the BBC radio broadcast echoing through the room. Outside, birdsong faded into twilight, while inside, the rhythmic unwrapping of a Hershey's chocolate bar, provided by their Allied captors, broke the silence, its foil crinkling like a whisper of distant thunder. This simple confection, abundant and sweet, stood in stark contrast to the rationed hardships they had known back home. As the radio announcer's voice cut through the static, detailing the devastation wrought upon Hiroshima by an atomic bomb of unprecedented power, a wave of disbelief rippled across the faces of Werner Heisenberg, Otto Hahn, and their colleagues. The device, equivalent to 20,000 tons of TNT, had turned a bustling Japanese city into a smoldering wasteland in an instant, vaporizing structures and claiming tens of thousands of lives. Hahn, the chemist whose 1938 discovery of nuclear fission had unlocked the atom's secrets, slumped in his chair, his hands trembling. He had been informed privately earlier by Major T.H. Rittmaster, and the weight of it crushed him. He confessed to feeling personally responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands, as his work had paved the path to this horror. In a moment of despair, he had even contemplated suicide upon realizing the bomb's potential, only steadied by a stiff drink before sharing the news at dinner. This moment at Farm Hall marked the culmination of a race that had spanned the war's shadowed years, a contest of intellect and industry where the Allies had surged ahead while Germany's efforts faltered in the grip of tyranny. The German nuclear program, known as the Uranviren or Uranium Club, had begun in earnest in April 1939, shortly after Hahn and Fritz Strassmann's fission breakthrough was published. Under the auspices of the Army Ordnance Office, scientists like Heisenberg, the brilliant theoretical physicist who led much of the theoretical work, pursued the harnessing of atomic energy. By September 1939, as German forces invaded Poland, the program formalized with meetings in Berlin, where experts discussed the potential for a uranium-based explosive. Heisenberg calculated the critical mass needed for a chain reaction, estimating it at tons of enriched uranium, far more than what was feasible under wartime constraints. Laboratories in Leipzig, Berlin, and Heidelberg buzzed with experiments, heavy water production in Norway, uranium enrichment attempts via centrifuges and gaseous diffusion, and reactor designs using graphite or heavy water moderators. Yet the program stumbled from the outset. Resources were scant. By 1942, when Heisenberg met with Education Minister Bernhard Rust to secure funding, the effort received only modest support, perhaps 2 million Reichsmarks annually, a fraction of what was poured into rocket programs like the V-2, which employed thousands. The expulsion of Jewish scientists under Nazi racial policies decimated talent. Luminaries like Lise Meitner fled to Sweden, carrying fission knowledge that indirectly aided the Allies. Internal rivalries fragmented the work. The Army Ordnance competed with the Reich Research Council, and figures like Kurt Deibner pushed military applications, while Heisenberg focused on a uranium engine, a reactor for energy production rather than destruction. Experiments failed repeatedly. A 1942 reactor test in Leipzig exploded due to impure graphite, and heavy water supplies from the Vemork plant in occupied Norway were sabotaged by Allied commandos in 1943, halting progress. By 1944, as Allied bombs rained on German cities, the program devolved into scattered, underfunded labs, producing no viable weapon. Heisenberg later reflected that even with full resources, completion during the war was improbable, citing the need for industrial-scale isotope separation that Germany lacked. In the hushed dining room at Farm Hall, as the BBC confirmed the bomb's uranium basis, the scientists' expectations shattered against harsh reality. They had anticipated superiority, or at least parity, in atomic science. Heisenberg assured Nazi officials in 1942 that a bomb was theoretically possible, but would require immense effort, 120,000 workers, he estimated, a scale he lacked the moral courage to demand amid the regime's priorities for conventional arms. Paul Hartek, the physical chemist, had proposed mass spectrographs for enrichment, but dismissed the idea as unfeasible without vast manpower. "We always thought we would need 2 years for one bomb," Deibner admitted in the heated discussion that followed. Instead, they confronted the American achievement, the Manhattan Project, a colossal endeavor spanning Oak Ridge, Hanford, and Los Alamos, employing over 130,000 people and costing $2 billion, equivalent to Germany's entire annual military budget in some years. The Germans had envisioned a protracted struggle with nature's forces. What they experienced was the swift, unforgiving triumph of Allied ingenuity, born from collaborative freedom absent in the Reich's stifling bureaucracy. Factual records from the secretly recorded farm hall transcripts, declassified years later, capture this raw disillusionment. Heisenberg initially scoffed. "I don't believe a word of the whole thing. They must have spent the whole of their 500 million pounds on separating isotopes, and then it's possible." Hahn, overwhelmed, lamented, "If the Americans have a uranium bomb, then you're all second-raters. They are 50 years further advanced than we." Carl Friedrich Weizsäcker decried it as dreadful and madness, yet Heisenberg countered pragmatism. "One can't say that. One could equally well say that's the quickest way of ending the war." Hahn found solace in that. "That's what consoles me." As debates unfolded into the night, Horst Korsching marveled at American cooperation. "That shows at any rate that the Americans are capable of real cooperation on a tremendous scale. That would have been impossible in Germany." Each one said that the other was unimportant. Gerlach, the program's administrator, wept alone, feeling like a defeated general, fearing blame for its shortcomings. Weizsäcker speculated on moral resistance. "I believe the reason we didn't do it was because all the physicists didn't want to do it on principle. If we had wanted Germany to win the war, we would have succeeded." Heisenberg confessed his relief. "I was absolutely convinced of the possibility of our making a uranium engine, but I never thought we would make a bomb, and at the bottom of my heart, I was really glad that it was to be an engine and not a bomb, I must admit." This revelation transformed their worldview, eroding the myth of Aryan scientific supremacy peddled by the Nazis. Where they labored under ideological constraints, Heisenberg navigating party politics to protect German physics, the Americans harnessed émigré talent like Enrico Fermi and Leo Szilard, fostering innovation through democratic pluralism. The event pierced their isolation. Hahn thanked God they had not succeeded, while others pondered sabotage. Ideology shifted from viewing atomic power as a tool for conquest to recognizing its peril in autocratic hands. The Hershey's chocolate bar, casually shared amid their turmoil, became a poignant emblem, its rich, mass-produced sweetness a testament to American abundance, where factories churned out confections alongside war machines, fueled by a society that valued individual ingenuity over regimented obedience. 3 days later, as news of Nagasaki's destruction arrived, another city reduced to dust by a plutonium implosion device, the shock deepened. The bomb's yields, measured at 15 and 21 kilotons respectively, far exceeded German projections. Hiroshima's fireball reached 7,000 degrees Celsius, incinerating everything within a kilometer radius. Casualties mounted to over 200,000 by year's end, from blast, fire, and radiation. Heisenberg, piecing together the physics, lectured his tears on critical mass, admitting he never fully calculated a bomb's design, overestimating the uranium needed by orders of magnitude. His error, compounded by resource scarcity, sealed Germany's fate. The program, relocated to caves in Haigerloch by 1945, yielded only a subcritical reactor pile, mere kilograms of uranium oxide cubes stacked in futile hope. In the quiet aftermath at Farm Hall, as the scientists unwrapped another Hershey's bar, its chocolate melting under the lamp's warmth, they grappled with the ideological chasm. This symbol of plenty, distributed freely by their captors, underscored how democracy's abundance extended beyond material wealth to scientific pursuit, unfettered by fear, enriched by global minds. the atomic age dawned not from tyranny's forge, but from freedom's resilient spirit, reminding that true power lies in unity and ethical restraint. In the ruins of cities turned to dust, a larger truth emerged. Abundance thrives where liberty reigns, turning the atom's fury into a somber guardian of peace, forever altering humanity's precarious dance with destruction.